Should it be compulsory to vote in Australian elections? Hi, I'm Brett Manning, trustee of the New Aussie Constitution Trust. The New Aussie Constitution is a proposed draft replacement for the current Australian Constitution. It's been developed outside of government and outside of political parties. Last week I discussed the fact that the new Aussie Constitution lowers the voting age to 16 and retains compulsory voting from the age of 18. Now, some of the feedback I received last week was actually around the compulsory voting, and one individual in particular felt it should be their right under the Constitution to not participate in voting if they chose and were prepared to accept the outcome of the rest of the voters. I think it's one of our great strengths that voting is compulsory in Australia, and I'd like to try and explain why. And I think we've got a very good example of that in the current United States system, where voting isn't compulsory. If voting is not compulsory, the marketing effort to get people to vote changes, because now it's not about getting the greater percentage of the population to agree with your position and to vote for you. It's about getting the greater number of people who will vote for you to turn up on election day and vote. Now, what becomes very soon apparent is that it's much easier to go after people who are fanatical supporters and encourage them to turn up to vote than it is to convince the general populace of your position. So how do you get those activated supporters out and voting for you? You return to your base. So if you're left wing, you go more left wing. If you're right wing, you go more right wing. So you go to the extremes, because the extreme supporters are the ones that are more likely to turn out and vote for you. Those that are in two minds or swing voters probably aren't going to show up for vote on election day. So if a politician wants to get elected in America, the best thing they can do is drive towards their own base. So if their base is left-wing, they drive towards more left-wing policies rather than compromise policies that might be somewhere in between left and right-wing. And the same with the right-wing politics. They must drive more to the right to get the people that are likely to vote and who are likely to support them to get out and vote. And so what this does is it drives politics away from the centre and towards the extremes. And more likely, extremist parties will also get a disproportionately high vote. And that occurs because they can, again, mobilise their base to get out and vote. Whereas maybe the majority of the country is more moderate, more centre-line, somewhere between left and right on different issues, less likely to show up on polling day. And I think we're seeing that, we've seen that in politics in the United States at least for the last 12 years, and possibly longer than that. And the other reason I think it's important is because it's about the responsibility that goes with those rights. So we have a right to vote in this country, and that right's a valuable thing. But with each right comes responsibility. So we have to make the effort once every 4 years or 3 years, depending on the circumstances. We have to make that effort to get out and vote. I would argue compulsory voting keeps Australian politics towards the centre. And it keeps a balance between the the far left and the far right. And the mainstream of the Australian community, I think, sits somewhere in the middle. If you'd like to find out more about the new Aussie Constitution, please visit the website at www.newaussieconstitution.com.au. Thanks very much for your time.